I can't, but let me make sure it's not behind anything.
No, I think it's like something weird. My computer's like being really super slow right now. Try to clean this here. Let's try again. All right, let me try again here. See if this one will actually let me share. All right. Okay. So I put this at the bottom. Can you see it now?
I can't, but I can go look at it as soon as it, or maybe I can pull it
No,
up.
I want to talk you through it, so it's better. Let me see if I can. I don't know what's going on here. Let's see. Okay. Sure, I'll try one more time here.
Okay.
Okay. Now?
No, sorry.
Oh,
wait, now I can see it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay,
perfect.
So I pasted this at the bottom of your big idea document.
Okay.
And so again, the key thing to think about is it's like a movie trailer, right? That's what I want you to sort of think about when we're doing here. And so think of there's these 7 core elements that will make up your introduction. When you write it, it's pretty formulaic. Like I don't want you to try to get cute and creative. I want you to follow the structure at first. You can always make it cute and creative later, but for now, follow it. So these are sort of these bolded, capitalized things are kind of the sections. So these 7 sections, and you want to basically follow this structure pretty closely. I mean, you can move stuff around a little bit, but I think the story of Anthony is a really, really good one. I think that's a really great one. The only caveat I have against it is like, if this is a book more for women, you might want to find a story that's a woman. That said, not like hard and fast. But I think this idea a little bit of like, I wrote this down here. It's like, as I reflected on his story, I felt a deep connection to the story and realized something about myself. He was on a hero's journey, but it was not really what we see in the movies. That has led me to explore the questions of the hero's journey and discover the real way people go through it. I think your book is going to be about this hero's journey thing a little bit. And I think, so you talk about this idea here, but like, I think you want to start out with stats about like where we are, happiness, wellness, depression, but this idea about like we spent on these events that lead us to reach fulfillment. And like, that's kind of like what the hero's journey is you attain this sense of fulfillment. But the reality is like, there's not this like, we have this idea that's been architected for us. The reality is there's not a safe choice or what I really want to do. There's not some fork. There's just like a path you're always on. And so this idea of like attainment is not the right answer. It's like, it's a different path, right? In some ways, the path doesn't end. And that's the problem a little bit with like the path. And I think you're going to have to illustrate this a little bit of like, it's basically like circles and something like that. So I don't think this is a great story for you, honestly. Like, I think you're holding back your story. Like, this sounds like everyone says like, I'm so inspiring. That's not the right story you want. You want something that's more like, I mean, and I was like holding back saying something, but like, that's not the story you want to tell. You want to tell something that's vulnerable, right?
Okay.
So you want to tell something about you and like, like this path sort of thing idea, because I don't think as you've said, I've not figured it out, but I'm living it in that sort of way.
Yeah.
So here's what I wrote down.
Okay.
I think this could be like even a potential title, like Hero's Journey, but make it her. And this idea of like rewriting our own hero's journey to find our path to happiness, success, and satisfaction. I think the problem that you're hitting on is, and I think it's a good one, that like we are told our life should look like Eat, Pray, Love or whatever it is. And like at the end of it, there's this thing. And like once I get married or once I get this job or once I this thing, and like there's this like resolution to it where it's not how life works. And it creates this tension for all of us. So, women who are in their 40s, but I mean, it's lots of people who are in this point of like, it's like mid-career life unfulfillment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fulfillment. So, I spelled it wrong, but you get it. So here's what I think like this idea here is a little bit. Like I was thinking about a book structure for you even. So I think we got to talk about how we got here, like this hero's journey effect and kind of like I think you need to tear down that idea of like the perfect path, right? Like the perfect path, kind of like what it's actually like the negative consequences of it, like negative consequences and a new, us, right? Like what is this? Because like, the white picket fence thing isn't happening anymore. It's not the thing.
Yeah.
And so I think you want to identify these principles of the new hero's journey, that it's not like the problem is it's not really a journey. It's like this things that you take on your journey with you that are common, right? Like it's flexibility.
Resilience, and
right?
Not caring what other people think and finding your tribe.
Yeah. all these things, you get them right. And I think that's what I think this are. I think that's the important thing is like, I think you need to take issue with the hero's journey as like, we're all taught to do this thing and that's not what it is. And then I think the last part in some ways is about how you write it, how you actually do this, like applying this in your life and these sorts of ways. So
okay.
I'll pause there. What are your thoughts?
I really like it. Like I'm hearing a pretty significant overlap, especially in the journey about a lot of the things that Elissa and I have talked about, because it was really more like, okay, if you want to take the road less traveled, this is what you're going to need to take with you on your journey. I think it's just a little bit of it's a different way to position it. Mm-hmm. And I honestly feel like because of where I'm at in my word count right now, like I've got time to really kind of go after this idea of, let's put it all in one book and make it the best that we can. And if we decide it's too much, fine, we cut it out. But I think you have to. I think this book only works if you're authentic and vulnerable in it and fit your story. I mean, there could be other parts of your story, but this is like your story. I mean, and I think when you were talking about it is like, and I think this element of, so if I were to frame this to you is like, each and every chapter will have pieces of you. You'll be the narrator. You'll tell how this fits into you. And so it's not like you have to sit down and say like, here's 4 chapters of me. It's like telling a good story about vulnerability and a good story about, flexibility and tribe and all that sort of stuff, I think will fit within it. But I think for this to work I think you're going to have to be a sympathetic figure and say like, this is the stuff I'm struggling with too. And I'm struggling with is like, in some ways I would say it like almost this way is like, in life, we keep being told is once we hit this next mountain, this next milestone, this next hill, like then it'll make sense. And like, it's just the next one. Then the next one. And so in some ways, like that's, I think part of the challenge that we're facing a little bit is like, there's no, like, we're not there. There's never there. It's always a thing. And so when you're there, you're dead. Like,
exactly. Exactly. So go ahead.
I mean, my own story of recovering and all the things I've been through is perfect for this. I don't know why. So should I think really that I should just tell it that way.
Yes. I agree.
Okay, good.
I mean, I think in each of your chapters, I think you want to balance your story, someone else's story, and research behind it. Like those are the things. Like, but each chapter, to me, what I would, if I were to give you some advice, is I would go back and try to identify these principles of the new journey or whatever this thing that we're calling it is. And I think that's the important thing to think about is like, what does that look like? And then once I think you do that, like, I think this will, so my next advice for you is number 1, I would go out and write your introduction. Okay. That's what I would do. Take a stab at it sooner than later. Okay. And then I think that's going to help you flow. And you're going to churn through it a few times with Elissa to get it to the place where you feel good about, but write it. Then I think that's going to lead right into the structure, how you structure this book. And then I think the whole rest of the book's going to unlock for you. Like, I think I think you've got it all. I think you're sort of just like, whereas before structure was the enemy, now structure is your friend. Okay. And so I would own a structure, I would lock it, and then I would just start to fill it in. And I think once you feel good about that one, then I think this thing sort of like will roll for you, to be honest.
Perfect. Just one other question. Sure. For the introduction and doing that, knowing that I'm going to use my story, should I try and write, should I instead put my own story in that introduction formula instead of Anthony's? I
think it still should be someone else's story. Okay. I think your story will be in this, like, why you, like, it has to tell your story, but I think it's a poignant piece of your story that you want to tell that then to say. And so in this book, you'll hear how I'm also struggling with this, trying to do these things, the experiences I've had along the way. But I think we've talked about this before, but the secret of a really great book today is that it has memoir elements, but it's not a memoir. And so I think you want to be thoughtful about like telling something that like you're the narrator, but not the memoir, right? Like, and that's it's a slight balance between the two. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This is
of course
incredibly helpful.
Good. Okay, so 2 quick things for you. So number 1, write the introduction, take a stab at it sooner than later. And again, I think, honestly, you're a good writer. You've got a lot of word count. I think you're really in a good place. So I guess the second question on that one is, or comment is, my sense right now is like, I think you're in a good place to get a first draft by the end of October. Do you feel like that seems
Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing that I will do then too is I'm going to have Jamie from the publisher reach out to you just to start to map out some of those pieces for it. So it's not a lot you'll have to do, but like just in terms of like making sure you get promo footage filmed and like workshops and timelines so that you can have the opportunity to publish in April. Now that could change based on bunches of things, but should you want to start some of those things now, and again, it'll just kind of, you know, it feels like an eternity from now, but it's really like setting all these places up so it succeeds in all those places.
Sounds good. That sounds really good. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, you got something here. Let's get an incredible book out here. And then what I always tell people is if their first book is awesome, you will have more than enough content for a second book, but don't hold back some of the good stuff thinking that like I'll use it later. Because it's just like the truth is that like people will want more. And if you give them more, you know, you'll find a way to write your second great book too. Don't worry.
Okay, cool. All right. I'm not going to hold back. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Absolutely. We'll talk more soon. Congratulations.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye, Stephanie.
Bye.